So originally, I wasn't going to make a guide on Cagney Carnation for no particular reason, but seeing as Cagney is one of the last main bosses I need to do before finally ending with Chef Saltbaker, I thought, why the hell not? So let's immediately get into the loadout. I might sound like a broken record at this point, but Roundabout is just such an amazing weapon, there is literally no reason why you wouldn't want to bring it. It is quite literally a better version of Pea Shooter, and is a weapon that almost always hits its target. Sadly, its EX is not the best for this fight, but it more than makes up for that by the weapon's consistency. It has great damage per shot, it helps clear the stage of enemies, and you'll still deal damage to the boss even if you don't mean to. So I don't really see any reason not to bring Roundabout, unless you want to play it in a very particular way. And your next weapon, in my opinion, should be Spread. It's mainly used to clear out any minions in the way, but it's also used to deal pretty good damage to Cagney directly, and it's overall a pretty useful support weapon for this fight. Luckily, this fight is really not that difficult, so you don't need to really try hard in any particular section of this fight in my opinion. And because of that, I don't have any strong recommendations for your super or charm. I would say in this case, it's better to use what you're comfortable with rather than conforming to what you think is good. Examples being Heart Ring or Smoke Bomb or Miss Chalice. I don't want you to think that you have to use a specific charm or super to win this fight, because it really is up to the person playing. If all you need is the extra health to secure the S rank, then use Heart Ring. If you need to be able to dodge any of the minions and attacks in the way, then use Smoke Bomb. And if you want the extra mobility and safer playstyle, then use Miss Chalice. And the same thing goes for your super. If you need invincibility to get past a phase, then use that, otherwise use Energy Beam. And that should be everything for your loadout, so let's start talking about S-ranking Cagney Carnation.
This match will get red hot. You're up!
Once you enter the fight, you'll want to immediately stand on the middle platform. This should allow you to easily parry the first pink seed that falls down. When I'm going to parry the pink seed, I like to drop down first and then get the parry. This gives me the most amount of time and space to be able to get the parry. Although this strat doesn't work as well during the middle of this phase. After parrying the pink seed, you'll have to deal with all the minions in the way. In this case, use Spread or Roundabout to clear the stage and deal damage to Cagney at the same time. If you ever manage to not parry the pink seed, then it's going to spawn this type of enemy. This type of enemy will be invulnerable until it opens itself up and shoots a pink bullet at you. No need to parry the bullets if you can't, but if you can, then well, more power to you. When it opens itself up, that's when you can deal damage, which it literally has only 4 HP according to the wiki, so literally one shot or two should take it out easy peasy. And another thing is that only one type of this enemy can spawn at a time, but very rarely will 2 ever spawn at one time. This is just something to note, this will probably never happen to you, so don't worry about it. And because of this, after the first pink seed you parry at the beginning of this fight, you don't necessarily need to parry any more pink seeds. All the rest of the parries you'll need for the fight can be achieved during the last phase. So other than preventing that minion from spawning, or just wanting to get the parries for the hell of it, then you don't need to get any more parries from here on out until the last phase. And also from here on out, Cagney will repeat the same seed attack over and over again until he moves on to his second phase. And you'll know if he's moved on to his second phase if he literally does any other attack. So to recap, you'll typically be using Roundabout and turned away from Cagney to keep on dealing damage to Cagney and any minions in the way, and otherwise you use Spread to clear out any minions in the way, parry the pink seeds if you can, and you're literally just trying to deal as much damage until you move on. There really isn't much else to say for this, it's really that simple. So after Cagney takes enough damage, he'll completely stop doing the Seed Gatling attack and you move on to either using Magic Hands or his lunging attack. While using Magic Hands, he can chain up to 3 attacks of 2 different variations, either the Boomerang or the Acorns. The Boomerang will fly above the platforms, then go back around and fly below the platforms. You can duck under the Boomerang while on the top platforms, which makes this attack pretty easy to counter. And for the Acorns, he'll spawn about 4 of them and they'll shoot out in a seemingly random direction. Typically, just backing up and reacting accordingly to the Acorns is more than enough to counter this attack. But of course, this is all made a bit easier if you use Smoke Bomb, so do with that what you will. And lastly, we have the lunging attack, in which he'll clearly telegraph which area of the screen he's going to lunge to. And it's as simple as just going to the opposite area of where he's lunging. And yeah, that's all you're dealing with for this second phase until he moves on to his last phase. When he enters his last phase, I like to use Energy Beam so I have a huge head start on damage. Cagney will bury himself into the ground and summon vines on up to 2 of the platforms. You'll need to constantly switch between platforms as to not get hit by the vines, which can be easily done by just jumping and dashing over to the empty platform. While you're doing this, Cagney will spit out dandelions that travel slowly across the screen, with some of them being pink. This is when you'll want to take your time and get at least 2 parries to fill out your parry requirement, or however many parries you need left. And other than making sure you use an EX so you fill out your super meter requirements, then that's really all there is to this boss fight. Cagney Carnation is super simplistic on Expert, which is kinda confusing considering it's Expert. It almost feels easier than regular mode. Considering how straightforward Cagney is on Expert, I didn't really want to bother making a guide like how I did with Captain Brinybeard. But since I'm about to finish my Boss Guy playlist with Chef Saltbaker, it only felt right to do so. So I guess that's how you easily S-rank Cagney Carnation. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found this video helpful in any way, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this video to help out the channel. And with that, I'll see you all in the next video.